Hello and welcome to your favorite cloud learning channel, Cloud Expert Solutions, and welcome back to AWS Certification Bootcamp. In this module, we are diving into a crucial security service, Amazon Inspector. Security is job zero at Amazon, and that is why having a high-level understanding of Amazon Inspector is key for every AWS certification. Starting the very beginning, Amazon Inspector was a key topic for any AWS associate level certification, but recently, AWS AI Practitioner also started including 1 to 2 deep dive questions on Amazon Inspector. In the cloud world, we move fast, we deploy quickly, and sometimes things slip through the cracks. Inspector is the service that acts as your security guard, and it constantly scanning and monitoring your environment for any weaknesses. Let's review the roadmap for today's session. As usual, we will start by reviewing what problem Amazon Inspector resolves. Then we will review a high-level overview of Amazon Inspector, followed by how Amazon Inspector works, its key features and integrations. Then we will familiarize ourselves with the use cases of Amazon Inspector. Then we will navigate to AWS Management Console and perform a quick review of the different available options. And as always, we will finish up with a quick summary and key takeaways for your certification preparation. On behalf of the Cloud Expert Solutions team, I would like to thank you for joining us and selecting this bootcamp. And I promise this session is going to add a lot of value to your AWS certification preparation and to your day-to-day work with AWS Cloud. Let's jump in. We will start with the core issues Amazon Inspector resolves. You may spin up an EC2 instance using a base AMI. You install a bunch of softwares and boom, you have a server ready. Or maybe you have a Lambda function or running containers on AWS. But what if the software or the dependencies or libraries you are using has a known vulnerabilities, like an old version of OpenSSL which has a security flaw? Doing manual security checks on thousands of instances or container is time consuming, error prone, and impossible at cloud scale. On the other hand, compliance regulations often require proof that you are scanning your workload for vulnerabilities regularly. Amazon Inspector automates the entire headache. It continuously scans your environment for vulnerability, configuration issues, and unintended network exposures without you needing to do any manual checks. Now let's review Amazon Inspector. At its core, Amazon Inspector is an automated vulnerability management service. It's fully managed and serverless. That means you don't install or manage the scanning software itself. Amazon Inspector automatically and continuously scan your EC2 instances, container images that you are storing in Amazon Elastic Container Registry or ECR, AWS Lambda functions, or your code repo like GitHub for software vulnerabilities and any unintended network exposures. It uses a continuously updated database of known vulnerabilities, which is known as Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, or in short CVEs, to check your configurations. Amazon Inspector detects software vulnerabilities and unintended network exposures in real time across your AWS workloads, and we discussed that Amazon EC2, AWS Lambda, Amazon ECR, these are the services it can scan, as well as any non-AWS resources such as your code repos like GitHubs and CI/CD pipelines. With every findings, Amazon Inspector provides a risk score, and you can use this risk score to prioritize remediation, and which will reduce your mean time to remediate or MTTR value. If you haven't enabled Amazon Inspector previously, or if you have a newly created AWS account, then you are eligible for a 15 days free trial to evaluate this service. Now let's trace the flow and understand how Amazon Inspector works. First, you need to activate the service in the AWS Management Console. Then Amazon Inspector will automatically discover all your eligible resources like running EC2 Fleet, AWS Lambda function, container images in Amazon ECR, etc. etc. Then it will start scanning them in the background, and it does not do just one time check, it does continuously. Then it generates prioritized finding with severity levels like high, medium, low or informational. But the magic happens when it integrates with other services. These findings can be pushed to AWS Security Hub for a centralized view, and also you can integrate with Amazon Event Bridge where you can trigger automated remediation steps like using a Lambda function, you can quarantine a compromised EC2 instance. Now let's have a deep dive on Amazon Inspector security assessment methodology, and we'll start with Amazon EC2. To use with Amazon EC2, you need AWS Systems Manager agent, and that agent will help you to extract software inventory metadata from your EC2 instance operating system and any installed applications or programming language. It can identify vulnerabilities in the instance core operating system package like Linux, Windows, or even for Mac OS. For Linux instances, it can scan vulnerabilities within applications programming language such as Java, Python, Node.js, and other. It can also find if a fix is available. That means if a newer or patched version of the package is already available, it will give you the recommendation. And it also checks for any open network paths from the internet or other VPC edges like through an internet gateway, VPC peering, or even from a VPN. It can also detect mismanaged security group, access control list, and route tables that exposes UDP or TCP ports. Amazon Inspector can perform scans to benchmark your EC2 instance's operating system against the security configuration recommendations established by the Center for Internet Security or CIS benchmark. So if your organization is following CIS benchmark, then it will constantly monitor your EC2 instances, and it is going to identify when your EC2 instances are getting deviated from the CIS benchmark. Moving to Amazon ECR. For Amazon ECR, Inspector does not need a separate agent, unlike EC2 instances where you need SSM agent. But for ECR, it automatically discovers and scans ECR container images. It scans for vulnerabilities in operating system package in container images, and this includes for Linux distributions like Amazon Linux, Ubuntu, Debian, Red Hat Enterprise Linux or RHEL, and other operating systems. Like Amazon EC2, it scans for programming languages and package dependencies. It also generates findings for container images running on operating systems that are no longer supported or the operating systems that are discontinued. And the scan happens in real time. That means as you push the container image to Amazon ECR, it will start the scanning. Moving on to AWS Lambda. Like Amazon ECR, for AWS Lambda also Amazon Inspector does not need any separate agent. Amazon Inspector can automatically perform standard scanning to identify vulnerable software packages in your functions, dependencies, and layers. This includes scanning for programming languages that you have used to code the Lambda function, and it can detect security flaws like injection flaws or SQL injection, data leaks, that means any accidental exposures of sensitive informations such as hard-coded credentials or secrets, or even insecure socket binds. That means if the code that opens network connections to all the entities, it can automatically detect all those flaws. Like Amazon ECR, it scans AWS Lambda real time. That means as soon as you deploy the AWS Lambda function, it will start scanning the Lambda for any vulnerabilities or any unintended network exposures. Amazon Inspector is a smart security service from AWS. It does not just give you a list of 1,000 of vulnerabilities and say fix them. It provides prioritized finding based on the severity such that you can focus on the most critical findings first. It even calculates a dynamic contextual risk score in a scale of 0 to 10, and this score is directly determining the criticality or severity of the findings. Here is a risk score mapping with the severity, and you can see higher the score, that means more critical the severity is. You also get a nice coverage dashboard to visualize your security posture and the integrations that are key. It integrates with AWS Security Hub to aggregate findings, and you will have a centralized security view. You can also use AWS Lambda and trigger Amazon Event Bridge to automate the remediation process as soon as inspector detects an issue. Also, if you have multiple AWS accounts, then you can use AWS organization to scan all AWS accounts using a single inspector instance. We have discussed the use cases throughout the module, but let me list the critical ones that you should remember for your AWS certification. First, proactive security assessment. This is the obvious one because finding vulnerabilities before the hacker got that or you have faced any attack. It also provides the evidence that you need for any compliance audit. Even you can use to integrate with your CI/CD pipeline for DevSecOps, and you can scan the container images in ECR before they are deployed to the production environment. It also ensures the operational health of your fleet of EC2 instances or container. That means if the servers are patched and secure against the least known exploits or not. And last but not least, this is a new feature. It can map your container images stored in Amazon ECR with your running containers across Amazon ECS or Elastic Container Service or EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. Now let's go back to AWS Management Console and let's review Amazon Inspector in action. Back to my AWS Management Console. To access Amazon Inspector, from the service search option, I'll type Inspector, the first service in the service search list. I haven't used Inspector for this account, and here are the new features. Now Inspector can support deep inspection on EC2 instances. We talk about that Inspector now supports mapping of container images to running containers, and Amazon Inspector launches code security for comprehensive software deployment lifecycle. That means you can integrate with your CI/CD pipeline and all. If you want to activate deep inspection, you can activate from here. We do not have an use case, we are not going to do, so we are going to close all these pop-ups. Now in terms of pricing, here you have a 15 days trial period. If you haven't used Amazon Inspector or if this is your new account, to activate Inspector, it's very simple. Just click Get Started. You should delegate the administration if you are using for AWS organization. But for me, this is a solo account. That is why I don't need delegation. I am going to activate only for this account. And here you go. Inspector is activated for this account. Now you can also integrate with Security Hub. We are not going to integrate Security Hub in this demo. We have a dedicated session. Now from the left hand side, you have the findings. As we discussed, you need to only activate Amazon Inspector and it will automatically start the scanning process. You can also explore findings by vulnerabilities, by instances, by container image, by container repository, or by Lambda functions. In this AWS account, I think we have some Lambda functions. Now let's click Lambda function. Maybe it will take some time to list down any detection it may have. You can also export the SBOM or software bill of material. Now here are some on-demand scan. If you want to scan for CIS, you can also perform that. This is the vulnerability database search, account management, if you have AWS organization. And here are the general settings. If you want to scan for EC2 instances, now here is the custom path for your own account. You can do the deep inspection also for ECR scan, and here are the configurations you need to do. Now let's go back to inspector dashboard and let's see if it has detected anything. We'll go to dashboard and here you go. You can see it started detecting in terms of environment coverage. It is giving 25%. That means 1 out of 4 Lambda functions. We do not have any critical findings for ECR container, EC2 instance, Lambda function and code repo. Findings with exploit available and fix available, nothing. This AWS account does not have much resources, so I am not expecting any critical vulnerabilities or critical findings. But we can go to 25% and let's see. So here is the scan statistics. Out of my 4 Lambda functions, for 1 Lambda function, Amazon Inspector completed the scan. It is actively monitoring. And for other Lambda functions, the scan eligibility expired. Let's click that. Because function has not been modified or invoked is last 90 days. That is why these functions are not scanned. Now let's go to AWS Lambda and let's modify one function and let's see if the scan kicked in. So I'll go to AWS Lambda. I'll open in a new tab. Out of that, I'll use self-heal EBS encryption. Here is my Lambda code. I'm just going to add some space. I'm not going to do anything. And then I'm going to deploy. My Lambda function has been deployed successfully. Now inspector should scan this now. Let's go back to Amazon Inspector and let's refresh. Here you go. Now this Lambda function has been scanned by Amazon Inspector and Amazon Inspector is actively monitoring. But last two, Inspector is not monitoring or scanning because they are inactive. With this behavior, you can understand the intelligence AWS has built in the Amazon Inspector, and it is going to only scan the infrastructure that you are actively using, not what is dormant or you are not using. Before completing the video, it's good practice to clean up whatever we have created. If you do not have an use case for Amazon Inspector, then you should not keep it running and accumulate charges. If you want to disable, you can come to General Settings. And at the bottom of the page, here you have deactivate Amazon Inspector. I do not need Amazon Inspector to keep running or scanning my environment. I am going to deactivate. I will confirm deactivation process by typing deactivate and deactivate inspector. Now if I'll go to Amazon Inspector, you can see get started. You are good to go and you are not going to get any charge because of this demo. Back to my PPT and we came towards the end of this module. Now let's wrap up with some exam tips. The key takeaway is Inspector is the service for automated continuous vulnerability assessment of your EC2 instances, AWS Lambda functions and ECR containers. This is a fully managed AWS service and it is serverless. And here are some important terminologies that you should remember. If an exam question asks you how to scan for known vulnerabilities, then the answer will be Amazon Inspector. But if the question asks you how to detect ongoing malicious behavior, then the answer will be Amazon Guard Duty, that is the threat detection service. And if the question is asking you how to find PII data in S3, then it will be Amazon Messi. You should understand the difference between these security tools because during the AWS certification exam, AWS will try to trick you with different scenario-based questions and you should remember these keywords. That wraps up this module. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more AWS exam preparation courses and cloud certification bootcamps. Got questions or feedback? Drop them in the comment. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for learning with us at Cloud Expert Solutions. You are now one step closer to crushing your exam. See you in the next module.